and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie and television discussion in the multiverse. I am your host, Adam Portrais, and I'm joined by Sean Koufax.
Birds of prey.
And, of course, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear. Now insert some tiger noises.
Oh, man, it is another Carolina Panthers first down. It's fantastic.
That's how you know Huntress is using her powers.
Yeah,
Birds of prey.
Today
Take
we are
the birds and prey.
off the rails already. We are discussing Birds of Prey, the pilot episode
Prey.
from 2002. And it is as much 2002 as I think that you can cram into 45 minutes. And
The only thing that's missing from this TV show is like some rap rock fusion.
Listen, we only watched the pilot, but if you could have added one more thing to the pilot, that would have been it. There should have been something that was rocking for no real reason in in a very rock heavy song. There's like some scratching and stuff. Exactly.
Whew.
Peak Limp Bizkit.
Very.
Birds of prey.
All right, so it's time that we should open up the old mailbag.
Bale's here.
And this is actually a returning email based upon last week here. It's I put a subject in this time, are you happy? This comes from Jamie. Apparently he didn't put a subject in last week.
Whatever is going on your end, Bruce, you should mute your mic.
Stop eating corn chips. All right, so it never works. It never works. All right, so I didn't give the names of the podcast I'm on last time because I didn't want to give the impression I was just trying to get a plug and really wasn't into the show. First of all, Jamie, I will say that is sweet. I try to think about things that same way and don't plug myself on other shows, and I'm turning down Bruce's mic. So I'll just talk myself. So here they are. Nerds of the Round Table, and that's spelled K-N-E-R-D-S. Nerds of the Round Table is a new movie review pod, and on Geographically Novel, we review, you can probably guess, what we're reviewing there. So I'm going to guess Russian poetry? Maybe? I don't know. Also, I've read Some of the Boys, and I liked it so much I stopped reading it and have thus far refused to watch the show. It felt like Garth Ennis wanted to tell a cautionary tale about what supers would really be like, but it also felt like he reveled in the debauchery too. It was kind of off-putting. I also made a cheap joke at Adam's expense last time, but I want to say that I play a similar role on my shows, and what Adam does is a lot harder than he makes it sound. And he does a gracious, self-deprecating manner, which brings a lot to the show. Keep up the work, Jamie, and yes, I'm a dude. Thanks for your email, Jamie. We really appreciate that. But listen, if you are a fan of ours and you want to plug your own stuff, please, by all means, do that. We'd really appreciate it. And we appreciate you appreciating us, man. So let's do this. Close up the old mailbag.
Bale's here.
And as always, if you would like to send us an email, send it to us at heromoviepodcast@gmail.com. I was getting ready for our next show. So, yes, this is Birds of Prey. This was on, what network was this on back in the day?
CW, baby.
No. The WB.
WB, baby.
The predecessor.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, predecessor to that. Precursor, if you will. There were 13 whole episodes, so it went super well. They didn't even get a full run of 28.
So good. It's hard to believe that when you don't have good writing and you don't have a really good idea of where you're headed, and when your actors are just pretty and not good, that show's not going to work out. Good to know. Good to know. Birds of prey.
It was too far ahead of the time for if it had been the CW, perhaps things would have been different.
Yeah, hey, it did better than Aquaman.
That's true. That Aquaman show only got one, and they were just like, we know when to cut our losses. Thank you. Bye. But this was, here's the IMDb log line. We'll do this before we get into all this other stuff. In the future, long after the Batman has driven himself into exile, his legacy lives on in the form of the Birds of Prey, Black Canary, Oracle, and the Huntress. But before we get into this proper and everything, you know, we gotta do it, man. We do it every episode. It's time for Bruce's comic book connection. Now he's on the road. He sounds a little bit weird.
Yeah,
but
it sounds like you're biting into a Nestle Crunch bar.
Yeah, what are you eating there? Fritos? Cut it out.
I always put a Tic Tac in my mouth to help my elocution.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Read your script.
Are you ready?
Do it.
Okay. Huntress is a character with two different origins. One from Earth 1 and a very different origin on Earth 2. There's also a third origin if you count Paula Brooks, the Golden Age Huntress, who was an enemy of Wildcat, but she doesn't really pertain to today's discussion. Now, Helena Bertinelli is the most recent Huntress, debuting in 1989 and residing on Earth 1. Helena Bertinelli was born into one of Gotham's most prominent mafia families. Unfortunately, she was kidnapped as a child and abused in the worst ways possible by a rival mafia don, purely to psychologically torture her father. And she spends her life afterward as a withdrawn girl. Her parents, Guido, which, you know, real original there, DC, but her parents, Guido and Carmela, send her to a boarding school and assign a bodyguard for her protection where she learns all forms of combat. After she witnesses the mob-ordered murder of her parents at the age of 19, she crusades to put an end to the mafia. She travels accompanied and trained by her bodyguard, Sal, before returning to Gotham to make her debut as the Huntress. Now, the Bronze Age Huntress is from Earth 2. She is the version most folks are probably familiar with, as well as the version that is closest to what is depicted on the Birds of Prey TV show. Her name is Helena Wayne, and she came about when legendary inker Bob Layton suggested Earth 2 needed its own version of Batgirl. Joe Staton was the penciler assigned to develop the character's look, and here's how he described the initial meeting. Quote, "After Paul Levitz had described the origin to me, I worked up sketches combining elements of Catwoman and Batman and went in to see Joe Orlando, the editor. The short version is that Joe and I had a fine meeting featuring Vinnie Coletta in his role as art director snoring away at full volume on the couch in the back of the room. Now, folks, that's the sign of a quality art director. He can sleep through entire meetings and still get a creator credit for a top-notch hero.
That's my kind of guy.
Staten admits that the Huntress costume was heavily inspired by that of Black Cat's, but that makes sense because Helena's mother is Catwoman, and Black Cat, well, she isn't exactly free of her own cat-themed inspiration. But Huntress's Earth 2 origin states that Helena was born in 1957 to Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle Wayne and grew up enjoying the benefits of being in a wealthy household. As a youth, she enjoyed a thorough education as well as being trained by her parents, Batman and Catwoman, to become a super athlete. In 1976, the criminal Silky Cernak blackmailed his old boss, Selina Kyle, into resuming action once again as Catwoman, an act which eventually led to Selina Kyle's death. After her mother's death, Helena moved out of Wayne Manor and into a Gotham City apartment. She soon found herself involved with the Justice Society of America and formally joined the group. Despite the fact that she did love her mother and become Huntress to avenge her death, she secretly feared that she might follow her mother's criminal footsteps, either fighting a demonic version of her mother in a drug-induced haze or fighting her mother's Earth 1 counterpart who never fully reformed. Helena had a difficult time coming to grips with her mother's criminal career, even going so far as to seek therapy. Her therapist in the comics was never a criminally insane woman with an unhealthy obsession with the Joker, but if you'd like to see how that plays out, all you got to do is watch the WB classic, Birds of Prey.
It's classic. Now, this entire series is available on the DC Universe app that's currently
Thank
out.
God.
We're watching it. What, you didn't want to pay for the let's call it DVD?
No, I mean that I get to watch all 13 episodes of this shit.
That's why you ask these questions. You want to make sure
that I paid the money to see all 13 episodes, because if you're going to spend 2 days binge watching a show, might I suggest Birds of Prey. This show is like you can't go further doing things wrong than the show has gone. You know, what it was reminding me, what it was making me think of watching it is like, there's got to be a better way to do this. You know, like, you know, your mind just starts wandering instead of having to pay attention to the stupidity of this. And it's really hard to remember that 2002, you still don't really know where you're headed with superhero stuff yet. You know, like they didn't nail it down. You had X-Men and maybe the first Spider-Man, right?
Yeah,
I think so.
But
yeah.
there's none of the Nolan Batman stuff yet. So you're still working with the Michael Keaton Batman stuff, the Joel Schumacher Batman stuff.
And we'll come to it, but there's also like some influence coming from that. I think maybe even another filmmaker might have even seen this and gone, this sounds interesting. We'll talk about that later.
But I think that one of the things that really would have made this show swing, like what might have gotten eyes on this thing, is the thing that they've started doing in the last, since Smallville, actually. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Smallville is on TV, and this is basically the answer to Smallville, right? Where it's kind of, because it feels like this is like a very just poor version of the same idea, where, hey, we don't really have the thing that everybody wants, but we can make a reasonable facsimile thereof.
Yeah, this I think came out between season 1 and 2 of Smallville. It's like this was in the off season they were showing this.
But one of the things that Smallville does well, which I think that the show never got right, is that, you know, and it made me think of it seeing Mia Sara on the show, who, by the way, still getting it done in 2002, even with, as I texted you guys, even with Ma'am's haircut from Webster.
Perfect description of that haircut. And we
still getting it done. But what it was making me want is I want to see all the old superheroes from the 70s in this show. You know, make the Birds of Prey, make them Linda Carter and the woman who played the Bionic Woman, and, you know, like all of those people, make those actresses the Birds of Prey. Now, are they going to be able to wear skimpy costumes at this point? Probably not, but it's not like those costumes are awesome to begin with. No one is watching Huntress and going, man, I just really, that costume is just the best.
You mean the bland, boring nothing that the most... Like
no mask.
Cleavage is really the only thing that costume really does, and that's not even that much. It's just like that's the one thing that you'll go, oh well, we got a little cleavage there, but that's about it. Otherwise, it is unremarkable in every single way.
Yeah.
There's no mask. It's really not a costume. Instead of a cape, she has a trench coat, and I kind of felt like they might have been influenced a bit by the success of Blade with the look they were going for with Huntress.
Well, and you got to remember, we're still we're in Matrix time here. You know, that still has come through as an influence for the last 2.5 years here. People are still gigging off a lot of Matrix stuff.
Yeah,
I would argue that time only exists as before Matrix or after Matrix. Like, there's no going back now.
There's certainly a delineated line within cinema. I would say it's quite an important one. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was thinking more Blade than Matrix. But you make a great point.
Did you guys see that there was the reunion of the show at Dragon Con? I want to say it's 2017 reunion of...
No. I think I heard about that, but again, it was not a show that I watched, so it was not something that, my eyebrow would have raised to.
Go ahead, Bruce.
Not only was it not a show that I watched, but these principal actresses, other than Mia Sara, haven't really been in anything that would have caught my attention to go check them out for other reasons either.
No, it's true. And when you see them on stage at Dragon Con, because I watched the reunion for like 5-10 minutes. The actors want to talk about anything else because it's just the three. It's the big three. It's Oracle, Nightwing, and Black Canary.
Black Canary, yeah.
And they want to talk about literally anything else. And the interesting thing that Black Canary, the actress who plays Black Canary, says is, I am now double the age I was when this show started.
Oh man, wow, yeah, I guess that's true.
Because she was 16 when she was hired to be Black Canary, and now she's 32 years old. And watching the other two actresses' faces when she says this is something to behold, because they look at her like, I want to murder you.
But let me tell you, she is. Listen, this show is just almost entire. We'll mention the others, but almost an entire group of just gorgeous people.
Yes.
You got Ashley Scott, Dina Meyer, as you guys said, Mia Sarah, Rachel Scariston, and Shamar Moore. Can you believe we made through this entire pilot and Shamar didn't pop his shirt off for some reason? I was waiting.
Forgotten.
So waiting for that to happen. And then, like, that dude was just, like, that early 2000s. Just a good-looking dude. Pretty good actor, for the most part, given with what he's given.
I liked him in The Young and the Restless. I was a Y&R guy back in the day.
That guy also is the guy in every single Medea movie where the lady has to, like, not be with him anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She can do bad all by herself.
Man, I'm looking through all the credits for this Birds of Prey show, and I'm shocked that there's no David Goyer involvement, because the way they handle Black Canary here, which is basically, not only does this character seem to have nothing in common with Black Canary, there are plenty of other characters that could kind of be this character that already exists, but yet they still are trying to force this psychic, telepathic type character into being Dinah Lance.
It's Black Canary. Shut your face. Like, that's the.
Yeah,
you're right.
Exactly.
It is like, and it does seem like, and I'll give them credit for a kind of origin story pilot here and everything. It's not. It could be a lot worse as far as trying to tell that story. They at least do a fairly cohesive job. Oh, I think it could have been much worse.
How do you do this show worse?
Chronologically.
Oh,
you change all the characters to men.
Batgirl is a dude, still named Batgirl.
No, it's Birds of Prey with Oracle, Hunter, and Dude Canary.
Dude Canary. That needs to be a thing. Hello, I'm Dude Canary.
Were you guys riveted by this? I mean, did you pay attention all throughout? Were you like, yeah, man?
Here's the thing.
This is bad.
I did a pretty good job.
Worse.
I did a pretty good job. It was as good as anything else in that era on television. I mean, I think it definitely fits the time it was put out.
It's really weird because it has a thing to where you watch it and it's not very good, but there is something about it that you can't stop watching it. Is that it is...
I could.
It's kind of compelling. I was just like, this is so bad, but yet I can't turn away.
Nope, disagree. I can. I did everything I could not to watch the show as it was on. My brain was playing tricks on me, doing whatever it could to not pay attention to the show. I would have to go, okay, I gotta go back and see that scene again, because I didn't hear a single word that the actors were saying to each other.
Is the ceiling fan on in that other room? I better check.
Right.
Here's one thing I will say. Warner Brothers and DC should get, this show isn't great, but it's as good as anything else at the time. And I think they should get credit for trying to do some female-led hero stuff way before the esteemed competition.
Well, they've always been pretty good with that too, even in their books, right? I mean,
and even on television, Wonder Woman was a pretty big hit in the 70s.
Yeah. And remember that where even with the books, with the comic books, Marvel was so busy high-fiving themselves over their gay character that they had created over at Alpha Flight, and meanwhile DC had a gay character for like 5 years even before that with the Pied Piper, and to no fanfare, to no acclaim at all, even though they had done him, they had worked on that character forever.
Yes. Exactly.
They've always been pretty good with that. They just don't make a big deal out of it.
Yeah, they definitely don't. I don't know. They don't get the tip of the hat I think they deserve for trying.
I agree. I'm totally in agreement with you over that. That is the cool thing about this network, this franchise, this IP.
Now, how do you think? The whole show starts off with this Alfred voiceover.
It is the worst voiceover
really
I've ever
summarizing
heard.
Things. So first off, we're going to have to deal with an Alfred, and I got to say this might be my least favorite Alfred when we finally meet this actor. Of all the Alfreds I can think of, with the exclusion, I haven't seen Pennyworth yet. But from all the versions of Alfred, the Burton version, the Michael Caine version, the Sean Pertwee version, the what's his name? The guy from Reversal of Fortune, wasn't he Alfred? Jeremy Irons.
I'll just say Michael Goth
Yes,
also is the guy that you're not saying.
Out of all of them, this guy's far and away the worst Alfred. He really looks like adult.
He is like, they definitely went the this was still in the like, hey, Alfred is old era of Batman and all these other things that are just like, no, he is old.
Yeah, he's like a Phoebe.
And then they've got Barbara Gordon teaching Shakespeare, which is weird.
Hold on.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I need to bring this up because it's the most off-putting thing in the world about the show. Is that Mark Hamill does the voiceover for the Joker in this, and like the series of flashbacks that lead you up to the beginning of the show, so you know where you're at.
Yeah.
And it is so off-putting seeing someone else's face, but hearing Mark Hamill's voice. I mean, yeah, it's a little blurred out, but not blurred out enough to where there's no doubt that dude is not Mark Hamill.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that.
It's a pretty crummy Joker, and for some reason he can shoot lightning bolts out of his hands.
There's all kinds of problems, I guess, because it's the future.
I guess.
It's New Gotham, not Gotham, but New Gotham.
Yeah, and they never, from what I understand, they never explain why it's New Gotham and not Old Gotham, what happened to Old Gotham, even though they spend roughly 40 minutes of their 60-minute runtime like just trying to world build on this premiere episode. There's a whole lot of things where like, well, wait a minute, why are things like that? It happened to me at least 4 times on the show where you're like, well, wait a minute, what? Explain that.
Moving on.
I don't care. I get it that her parents are Batman and Catwoman. Like, I get it. What I'm not understanding is what happened to the old Gotham. Where is Batman? Like, there's a bunch of that stuff. Like, okay, so Barbara Gordon is here on the show. What happened to Commissioner Gordon? Like, there's a bunch of that stuff.
Yeah.
And then, back to the point I was bringing up, Barbara Gordon teaching Shakespeare. It just doesn't make sense for me because there's 2 different ways to go with that character. She was classically a librarian, so have her be the school librarian if you're going to try to stick with that sort of motif. Information technology, old school information technology is the librarian, or have her teaching computer science. But talk about a weird fit. I don't have any idea why she would be teaching Shakespeare.
I can tell you exactly where that comes from, but you go first, Adam.
I love it because, like, for me, it's called, well, we need her doing a bit of business, and we also need to tell a little bit of a story here. Hold on. I've got
it's
a
also
big
fake
giant,
smart.
Yeah, I've got a big giant picture of Bill Shakespeare here. We're going to put that on the thing, and that's going to start this conversation with this guy. Done and done. Who cares?
Also, if you are not an intelligent person and you want to appear to be more intelligent, one of the tricks you can do is just start quoting Shakespeare. That works.
Oh, quote the Raven nevermore, everybody. Think about it.
Or just put a big math equation on the chalkboard. I almost wonder if it's like, well, we can't have her teaching math or computers. She is a female after all.
Put her in the arts. I love this scene because, like, and again, it's super awesome in the pilot because it goes nowhere. Like, it may do better in subsequent episodes of this series, but in this pilot, this episode, like, this bit goes nowhere. This guy comes up and he's just like, "Hey, how's it going? You're new to this thing? You teaching? You doing all this stuff? Listen, you want to go out with me sometimes?" She's like, "I don't know about all that." It's just. They're clearly setting it up for crap that's later, but just to see this guy just get, just absolutely, killed by this chick who's supposedly a Shakespeare teacher is fantastic.
There is also when it comes to Barbara Gordon, because I'm looking through her filmography now. Her filmography reads like the 90s, man. She's in Starship Trooper. She's in Johnny Mnemonic. She's in Star Trek Nemesis. Like, I mean, like, just everything here is screaming, oh, yeah, you were a big deal in the 90s. And I get it, because she almost has screen presence. You know, she's very attractive, but attractiveness does not equal screen presence.
Star power, yeah.
And so, and man, she is, like, just looking through all of this, she falls off a cliff in the 90s, basically, where they tried to make her a big thing, and then it was just, nope, it's not going to work out. So now you're going to be in Birds of Prey.
And they were like, hey,
she's in every like ill thought sequel to movies. Like, she's in, you know, like different versions of Starship Troopers. She's in, you know, like Decoys 2, Alien Seduction.
That's
and
call I will take off
franchise.
my clothes for money.
Yes, that is what that means for sure.
Sadly. Didn't work for me. I still didn't get the money.
They gave you the old checks in the mail? That's not nice.
No matter how many times I offered to take my clothes off on camera, I never got cast.
Sir, this is for a McDonald's commercial.
Back on.
Da 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 da.
Oh, he's loving it all right. We can tell.
Black Canary. I don't get why they decided they had to make Black Canary into this character they made her into. Like, I think you could still make this show work on pretty much the same storyline without her being just a totally recreated character. And I can understand that you're going to have to vary from the source material. You know, when it comes to the comic book version of things, Black Canary's like the one who formed the Birds of Prey. She's more experienced than even Barbara Gordon is. So here they've made her the high school kid who, by the way, is technically a runaway, right? Like,
it makes more sense if you make Huntress the kid.
Yes, and she's got the mysterious background to be chasing down. You find out, rather than knowing already who her parents are, that could be a big mystery to unravel as the season unravels, you know, who her real parents are. And you make Black Canary and Barbara Gordon the people who used to sort of like, you stay off my territory, you stay off mine, and they're forced to work together. Huntress shows up. You know, there's a lot of interesting ways to do it, and instead they really make a bizarre choice. And they never, like, the actress was 16 when she was cast. Is that what you said?
Yeah, she's 16.
So this is a show where there is a teenage girl, an attractive teenage girl runaway, and they never deal with that side of things. Like, I think there's like a bigger social problem going on here, that it's like, gee, if a 16-year-old, you know, runs away from home, gets on a bus, that Oracle's just going to, no questions asked, let you stay with her and enroll you in her school where she's a teacher. I'm pretty sure that's sort of like a form of kidnapping, maybe.
It's possible, but I think, you know, we all have to remember that Runaway Train was still playing on the television at that point. And, you know, that kid, it was a different world.
And then,
man, I'm reading about the creator of the show now, whose name I am going to completely butcher. Lita Kalogridis.
Perfect.
Let's call it Lita Kalogridis.
Yeah, perfect. I think that was good that second time around.
One when you look at her when you look at her picture, you go, okay, so that's what that lady looks like. And then you look through her filmography, and it's a bunch of stuff where it's like, oh, she's a James Cameron lady. One, she is totally his type. And two,
I gotta see her now.
Yeah. I mean, you just look at the picture of this lady and you're like, oh yeah, he definitely is going after that lady. and two, she's the first thing listed under IMDb credits for writer.
Yeah, that's a James Cameron type. If you look at the ladies he's kind of been with, that's about right. Yeah,
they all look the same. Yeah, with the exception of Sarah Connor, like they all look the same.
Yeah.
Alita Battle Angel. She was a writer on that. She's a writer on Terminator Genesis. I mean, it's just like, oh yeah, of course that's who. Yes, that's who this lady is.
She could if she played her cards right, she could be Miss Cameron number 4.
Yep, and then become a director, a very vengeful director later.
I'll show you. And
Talented yet vengeful.
And she did, actually. That was the best part. She goes, "Oh, I will show you."
And they did something on this show that the CW still does today that I think they think they're being cute or clever or a good sport, but I still kind of find it distracting when they make Spider-Man references in these DC shows. Because they do say something about, is your spider sense tingling?
Oh,
and
right.
Yeah.
That did hit me wrong, too.
Again, that's another thing where you're like,
why Spider-Man was a big hit in theaters when this was being made.
Why is Goyer not on this? That feels like an absolute Goyer move to just throw in a weird Spider-Man reference where it doesn't even remotely belong.
And then they gave Huntress cat powers. And
yeah, because she's Catwoman's kid.
Yeah, but Catwoman doesn't have cat powers.
Row, row. Didn't you hear her when things were going down, Bruce? Row, row.
Yeah, and she gets the cat eyes, too.
Cat eyes.
The thing is, with the show, they're taking a leap by giving her cat powers because she's Catwoman's daughter, but they're not addressing the fact that Catwoman doesn't have cat powers.
You're right, though, but because they didn't focus enough on the bat powers.
Of Catwoman this was?
Yeah.
We have a gigantic lag happening because we keep talking over each other.
There
which
is.
We're usually very good at. I'm not sure where the lag is, but it's happening.
Oh, I'm certain it's me.
Oh, okay. So there's a lot about the show that I don't want to talk about, but
a ringing endorsement, one might say.
Well, I mean, like we can go beat for beat through the show, but there's no reason to. It's disappointing. Like watching the show, you're disappointed in yourself for watching it. You're disappointed that they made it. You're disappointed that it went 13 episodes, remarkably. Why did they give them the full season run of the show? It is clearly Canadian. It was made in Canada, very clearly made in Canada.
Let me tell you why.
For nothing.
Let me tell you why they decided to put it on the air. Because this is the year 2002. And what also happens in the year 2002? That's right, VIP is canceled. And they had to fill that spot somehow. And this was practically the same thing, but with superheroes.
But isn't VIP syndicated?
Close enough. Like all
it is. It was a syndicated show. And this is on WB Network.
I don't think I've ever heard of VIP.
Oh, you probably saw it.
That is the Pamela Anderson I Am a Spy show.
Okay. I can go with that.
It basically, it's this, but with women who are more plasticky looking.
And they're spies.
Now,
right.
When was Charmed after this?
No, that's got to be before.
Charmed is the weird thing where it's on for so many seasons, like your Supernatural, where you're just like, wow. So this show was just always on,
98 through 06. Holy
full
crap!
Cast changes.
Yeah, because I kind of feel like they're trying to do Charmed only with superheroes instead of witches here.
Yeah, I mean that's basically what's happening, and it's that fake girl power thing where. Like you're not really, you're not really empowering women with the show, but you're pretending that you are because it's all female.
And Charmed was on the WB.
That's correct.
And I don't know. I think it's specifically Ashley Scott, the person playing Huntress, that just gives me kind of a Charmed vibe.
Well, when you look at it, it's just like there's so many, like while this is shot in 2002, and like you said, it's Canada, so we got to roll back the years a little bit when you head up to the Great White North, Canada. I'm right about this. So this really, while in 2002, screams like 97, 98 to me all over. From a lot of the music choices to the cinematography.
Premiered apparently, so
exactly, it's all that kind of thing. They see that, they get the CDs a couple of years later than everyone else, and go, "Ooh, you know what the kids are into," and then we've all gone past it at that point.
But I do find it interesting with Huntress, no mask, which doesn't make sense because apparently people know who she is in New Gotham. And then also she decides to go very cleavage forward with her costume. But then when she encounters a man looking at her, she immediately covers up her cleavage. Like, did she think there was zero possibility?
I think she was hiding her. I think that was her crummy way of hiding her costume. Like, oh no, this is my costume. It's you. But at the same time, too, I will say this: if you're gonna go no mask and you still want the identity to stay hidden, cleavage is the good way to do it. We won't be looking at the face.
Never on Charmed.
But it works for Power Girl, so why not for Huntress? Right?
Exactly. You're looking in another direction. You forgot what the face all looks like.
And I do like it when Oracle builds those goggles for Black Canary. They look like the most ridiculous. They look like something from a Nickelodeon game show.
You know what this show actually looks like? It looks like Generation X.
It does.
That show from Fox, that one episode.
Yes.
That was made in like the mid-90s.
With Matt Frewer.
Yes. It looks like that, except with more hot ladies.
Yeah.
Like, that's basically the only difference between that show and this show. And and 7 years difference.
If you listeners want to look through the HMP archives, we did indeed cover Generation X, so go check that out.
We did this to ourselves. This was not something that people who give Adam money...
I will say this is easier to roll with than Generation X was.
Oh, I disagree.
Generation X though is like you just drop some Molly and are going insane. Like, it feels like, you're in the middle of Go because there's just too much weird crap going on. This is so straightforward and but I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I think with some of the storytelling, like the flashback that's in kind of black and white and everything. Like, they clearly didn't have a big budget, but what they lacked in budget, I felt like they, as far as they could, made up with it with early 2002, stylings.
And I understand that they're painting Harley Quinn to be the big villain, and it's a nice twist because that character is a psychologist or a psychiatrist, depending on which version of her you're more familiar with, so it works. But just because they want the big villain to be Harley Quinn doesn't mean they can't actually bring in comic book villain of the week, and that's something that stuff in this era would sometimes bother me, is that they would bring in just nobody characters, even though they have the rights to plenty of throwaway comic book characters that they could bring in. And I never did understand that mentality that was so prevalent for a very long time.
Congratulations to them, though, because they did something that I did not think they could have done had I known that's who that character was. They don't drop the dime on her name right away. I was surprised.
She calls her Dr. Quinzel when we first meet her.
Oh, is it when they first meet? Because I remember her introducing to the guy later. Maybe I just, shucks. I thought they were smart and, skipped that first introduction, and we were just going oh, that's her therapist. But, dang it. Well, my theory's ruined.
And did Mia Sara ever put on the Harley Quinn costume? I've got to look into that because that would be cool to see.
That sounds like a season 3 kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm going to finish this first season just to be sure.
Are you really? You're going to watch the entire season?
Maybe.
If I have a really slow day, I'd pop one on maybe, just to kill 45 minutes. Because
there's like a million shows that you need to watch.
I know.
Never watch.
Yeah.
But you're going to watch this trash bag?
What can I say?
I watched about half of episode 2. It wasn't too bad.
Put that on the box art. It wasn't too bad, Bruce Leslie. We haven't talked about him, but the guy exists in the first 2 minutes of this show. Aaron Paul jumping on the screen.
Yeah, that was pretty cool to see.
That was almost jarring. Instead of Aaron Paul, I thought it was some guy that looked a lot like Aaron Paul.
It does, because you do have that reaction at first, because he's much younger than we kind of, everyone really knew him on Breaking Bad, and that's when we got to know the guy as an actor. He's obviously done things previous and post that, but that's where, his star really rose to fame, and he does look a good bit younger in this, so for half a second you do go, is that? No, it definitely is him. Unbelievable. And he's got a short little role in this pilot, but fun nevertheless.
I definitely had to check the credits to make sure it was really him. I wasn't going to say that Aaron Paul was in it and then be embarrassed when it wasn't him.
Well, lucky him. He actually got opening credits billed there, which is not too shabby for as long as he was in this episode. Good on him.
Yeah, this was the same year he appeared in National Lampoon's Van Wilder, apparently.
So listen to this.
Know how well that did.
Have either of you read any of the trivia on this show?
No.
I have not.
Actor Bruce Thomas, who played Batman in the Batman OnStar commercials, was previously credited as playing the character on the show. But in an interview, he said that this was not the case. He also noted that he contacted the Internet Movie Database to correct the error, but they never did, as the actor who portrayed Batman in the Birds of Prey was yet to be announced by WB. I am guessing that actor Bruce Thomas put this trivia in. The OnStar Batman commercials. Batman. I've not thought about that since those commercials came out.
Yeah.
My third favorite Batman.
The Batman suit worn by Dinah Meyer in the series is a repaint of the one worn by Alicia Silverstone in Batman and Robin 1997.
When you look at it, that does make sense. But I will say this: the recolor and everything. I like her costume in these flashbacks. It kind of makes me wish I had that show.
That would be a good show, or better show. Maybe
Well,
not good.
At least a better, different.
First actress they tried to get to play Harley Quinn in the series, Sherilyn Fenn.
Now, who is she? That name's familiar.
You'd probably best know her from Twin Peaks.
Okay, yes. I think I used to get it because Finn and Flynn sound alike to a guy like me, and I used to get her and Laura Flynn Boyle confused, I think.
Oh,
yeah, they look a little similar.
Any more trivia? I'm loving this trivia.
The pilot features a reference to fellow WB series Smallville. Helena Kyle mentions to Barbara Gordon and Dinah that meteors sometimes cause mutations. Inside reference, Birds of Prey and Smallville are both produced by Colin Robbins Productions. However, the two shows are not set within the same continuity.
Oh, what a shame and a travesty and mockery that is.
I know.
But I mean, I do like there are some of those points in there that are super great where she is kind of giving that exposition and stuff, and it is just throwaway, like, just shut up. That's what, yeah, you're a, what do we call them?
I don't know.
Metahumans, that's the word I'm looking for. Oh my gosh, it was just searching my stupid brain. Exactly, they go, you're a metahuman. It means you got stuff that other people don't got. We don't know how it. Like she literally says, we don't know how it works, and no two people have the same powers. Well, see ya.
Ooh, apparently Lori Loughlin played Dinah's mother in episode 5.
Oh man, she has her own problems now.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, what was the name of the guy from the OnStar commercials again?
His name, that actor's name, is Bruce Thomas.
Okay. There's a Brian Thompson, and for a minute I thought that was the guy. I'm looking for anything interesting here to talk about.
I thought, no, okay, so the Joker thing, I thought that was a weird thing. Because at first, like you said, when we saw the actor that they've got there, the horrible outfit they've got, really the worst version of the Joker I think we've ever seen on screen. And you're listening to the voice, and at first it's like his regular little dialogue didn't sound like it, but the laugh was fantastic, and I was like, holy cow, this is really... This guy, I guess they just hired him for the laugh because the voice itself wasn't very good. But yeah, I mean, learning that it was actually Mark Hamill was really, really bizarre. I don't know why they did any of that. You know what it kind of looks like when it's out of focus? His turn as the what's-his-nose in The Flash.
The Trickster.
It looked very If the Trickster dressed like the Joker and he was trying to make fun of him, that's what he would look like.
Now, I don't know if it was just a poor quality image that they're giving us or what, but it looked to be like they made no attempt to put any makeup on the Joker. They just gave him a green wig and it was a regular guy's face.
No, it was kind of white and stuff, but then again, I wish they would have dropped in like little fun cues and stuff for the comic book nerds. When he goes and shoots Barbara, he's just dressed in what you would normally think of as a regular Joker attire.
Hawaiian shirt and everything.
And or at least a hat. At least the hat. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous.
And I like it that the little intro says, in their final battle, Batman defeated the Joker. But then he had 2 hours to go kill people before he went to prison. That part didn't make sense to me. Like it sounds more like Joker kind of won if he got away and killed a few people first.
Well, he had a chance to get away, and then it was just like, well, Batman didn't kill him, and my life would have been a whole lot different that day. But eventually, he just got free, and then went and just tried to kill me. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is just—it's so badly written. I will say this though: the Batman did kind of look cool.
Do you think that Mark Hamill actually sat in a booth and recorded stuff? Or
Yes.
do you think that WB just had all the sound from the animated series and they used some of that?
No, I think that they had him in a booth recording it.
Because it doesn't sound the same as his original Joker stuff, and that's why, like I said, in the first part, I was confused because I was like, this doesn't sound anything, because I didn't know it was Hamill, of course. I'm like, okay, it sounds a little bit strange, and when he laughed, it was just like, ooh, that's really good. And no, there's a reason why it's really good. The guy who does it the best did it.
So Ian Abercrombie, who plays Alfred Pennyworth on this show.
How old was he then? And
Say what?
How old was he then, and is he alive now?
No, he is not alive.
Oh,
He was
shocker.
39 when the show was on.
Big alcohol problem.
But Ian Abercrombie plays Alfred Pennyworth on this TV show, and he is also the voice of Alfred Pennyworth in Batman the Animated Series. And Clive, and here's where it gets a little like, oh, hey, that's neat, is that Clive Revel played the part before Ephraim Zimbalist was cast for the animated series. Revel voiced the Emperor in The Empire Strikes Back, and Abercrombie voices the role of the Emperor on Star Wars The Clone Wars. Yeah, so three different guys who have voiced Alfred Pennyworth from the animated series, two of them also were the voice of the Emperor in Star Wars. That's pretty awesome.
That's wild. That's a wild bit of trivia. I like that.
He also played Smithy in Garfield: A Tale of Two Kitties.
Uh-huh. Man, you want to hear some great stories? Listen to Bill Murray talk about his time on both Garfield and Garfield: The Tale of Two Kitties.
Does it all involve a Brinks truck backed up to my house? And I said, okay.
Well, it's this weird thing, which is that he comes in, and it's the rare case where they actually shot the entire movie before they brought in the voiceover.
Not a good sign.
Yeah,
and he said, every day is me yelling at them, at the director. So me and the editor are working 12 hours, 14 hours a day. I'm trying to make the dialogue work better for the cat, and he's got to re-edit everything to try to make it all work.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave him a whole lot of money. And then for the second one, they did the exact same thing again. And he said, I almost murdered everybody involved.
Well, Bill, we've got some good news and some bad news. The good news is we've hired you again.
The Coen brothers were involved in the making of the movie, which is why he agreed to do it in the first place. Wrong Coen.
Yeah, it was. I think it's even like the guy's first name might be Ethan too. It's like really
It's Rob.
Is
Rodney
it?
and
Okay.
Mike Cohen.
Oh man! Now, also, this Alfred. Another thing, I still can't get away from the weird stuff they did with Black Canary. But the 16-year-old runaway shows up at the mansion, and the first thing that Alfred says is, "Go jump in the shower, you dirty, dirty girl." It's just made me very.
It
creepy.
was a
That old
little
man
creepy.
acting
Just
that way.
it
Perhaps
almost.
you'll jump in the shower. Don't worry, I don't have any surveillance cameras.
That's
in there.
precisely where I was going to go with it, because it did seem just like specifically the bathroom up the stairs, 2 to the right, 2, not 3, 2 to the right. That's the shower that you want to go to. It's been set up especially for you. Ugh.
And then also, then he goes to talk to Barbara while Black Canary's in the shower. And I swear, exactly 12 seconds later, she comes back in the door, hair completely wet, clothes changed. Like, her superpower is showering incredibly quickly.
Hey, listen, my dear departed grandma, she would actually shower in between commercial breaks. That woman was quick. It happened. And that's back in the 60s when commercials were quick.
And smoke a cigarette while she was doing it, right?
It's probably. Yeah, well, yes. Actually, that grandma certainly was smoking a cigarette as she was showering. I could promise you that.
That always impressed me. People that could use tobacco products and shower at the same time.
I enjoy the cigarette and a beer in the shower. That's always just a winning combination. Says you're doing something either super right or super wrong in life. We don't know which.
The final showdown here. I got to talk about this because they use another trope I don't like. I think it might have been last week, maybe the week before, maybe a totally different podcast altogether. It all runs together with me. But I talked about how I don't like dream sequences. I also don't like psychic battles where you just fist fight, but it's all in someone's mind. Like, I like the Professor X, Jean Grey style psychic battles. I can go with that. But when you have Huntress just winning a knife fight against a guy in a psychic battle, I don't dig that very much. And I hate that kind of way of dealing with something.
You got to do it.
Let me have a real knife fight. It's just as easy to shoot a real knife fight as a psychic imaginary knife fight.
You got to do it cool, like the end of the last season of Legion, where there's just like crazy, wild.
It makes sense.
Yeah, it's neat.
It makes sense for Huntress.
It makes it entertaining as opposed to just whatever this was, which is like, okay.
Yeah, this was just weak sauce on that psychic battle. I'd rather just have them really fight. And I don't know if they had some kind of justification for why it had to be that way, but I would have liked to have just seen a good old-fashioned knife fight.
Never bring a monkey to a gunfight. I think that's a saying, right? No? Anyway. Now,
I think it's good advice, even if it's not a saying. I'll just put that out there.
just listen, embroider it and put it on your wall, will you? Just do us all a favor.
Leave the poor simians out of this.
That's true. All right, now before we get down to our final rating here and everything, we do have to ask ourselves one very, very important question, and that is how this television show relates back to Sylvester Stallone.
Thanks, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Oh.
He was voted hottest male star by Soap Opera Digest in 1995. Let's talk about Sean Christian. Sean Christian, he plays the role of Wade Brixton on the TV series Birds of Prey. Man, things are all over the place on this on this one. Sorry, guys. He was voted hottest student body in his high school, and he was the first male spokesperson to ever appear on Star Search in 1983. This is all to say that the man is good looking. It's good to see that someone with no acting experience or talent can transition into a working actor for 30 years despite having nothing to recommend them other than being fun to look at. What most people don't know is how difficult life can be when you're exceptionally attractive, cue Bruce Leslie. Woohoo! I'm not claiming to be one of those people. I'm really more of an approachable attractive that even uggos think they have a chance with me, even though they don't.
Pack it up, uggos.
But for really, really, really attractive people give you things for free, like alcohol and dinner and sex, and it can be difficult to take these things for granted, not to take these things for granted, and turning into the bully in every coming-of-age comedy ever, except in real life, this didn't happen. Sean Christian is really a hero when you think about it. Sean Christian was on the live TV show What Am I Doing? And Sean Christian was on the TV show Las Vegas, which guest starred a guy whose mother would not stop shooting, Sylvester Stallone. Now, whether you like Sylvester Stallone or not, at least Stallone has talent and can write and can act. Sean Christian blue-steeled his way into a show that also boasts Sylvester Stallone with literally no acting talent or prowess whatsoever. Sometimes life is unfair. Sean Christian's never had to unload a truck. He's never had to hear, I don't think you're not supposed to be in here. And there you have it, HMPers. This week's Stallone Connection is Sean Christian. Thank you, and I'm sorry. I'm Sean Koufax. I'm sorry.
I've started, once you said his name and everything, I'm flipping through all of his pictures in the IMDb and like, yeah, that's just a dude who's hired for being super good looking and just like you are aesthetically exactly what this television show or whatever needs right now. You are just this placeholder, super handsome, hunky dude.
But there is not a single person who's ever gone, you know who's totally underrated?
Yeah, no. There's not a lot of that going on. But they're like, if we need a handsome guy who can also pull off handsome and douchey, that's the guy you go to.
Yep. I feel like he should have played Ted Bundy in a made-for-TV thing.
Yeah, like a really, really bad Lifetime movie or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess Hallmark doesn't do many Ted Bundy flicks, but I was thinking Hallmark.
The Hallmark Channel brings you Ted Bundy. All right, before we get to our everything here, do remember you can check out what our Robin rating system is over at facebook.com/Hero Movie Podcast. It's right there at the top of the screen. Bruce, where does the Birds of Prey pilot land on the Robin rating system for you?
It's one of those things where even though it's not good, I kind of want people to check it out. I'm not saying you got to watch all 13 episodes at once the way that Sean's going to do, but I think that people ought to check it out. Like, I think you need this if you're a comic book movie fan, comic book TV fan. You kind of need this in your viewing history just so you can mention it to other people and have a chuckle or two about it. You know, if you're a younger person, maybe you like seeing what pretty girls on screen were like 17 years ago. I don't know. I think that you ought to check it out, especially while the DC app is still a thing. Go check it out. It's 40 minutes. I'm giving it a Damian Wayne because I want people to check it out on its merits alone. Maybe it wouldn't be that high. Maybe it'd be higher. It's all over the place, but it's kind of a curiosity worth sticking your nose into.
I'm with you, Bruce. This is a Damian Wayne for me as well. It's right there in the middle. It is stupid. It is not good, but there's something about it, I think, that encapsulates that time that makes it a funny show to watch. And that, if you've listened this far in this episode, you might want to check it out because it's at least entertaining enough to just go, wow, how silly were we in the early 2000s, and what treasures are just beyond the horizon there that we're just about to get to and not too awful long. So I don't know. For me, it was just a blast of a stupid time. Damian Wayne. Sean, I feel like we kind of got a feeling where this is going for you, but I don't know. Maybe you're gonna surprise me.
No. For me, this is Jason Todd. You're right. I want you guys to think about something when it comes to this show. Think about how little you had to talk about it. There is not a lot to say about this TV show. And for that being the case, that is what makes it so very bad. Is that they don't really go. I mean, like the first 5 minutes of this show go for something where they're like, you know what, we're really going to try to overreach here. But after that, there's really nothing there.
It's not untrue. I'm not saying that's not a valid critique because it definitely is.
In all fairness, I had notes that broke down every single camera shot, so we could have discussed it in more detail. I just didn't think you guys wanted to.
Well, we thank you, and I think our listeners thank you, Bruce, and we'd like to thank them and everyone that subscribes to the show, leaves a review on iTunes, and, of course, the supporters over at patreon.com/HMP, where you can get pre-show, post-show, and, of course, the Dinger Zone. So go and check that out, patreon.com/HMP, and we'd like to thank everybody that helps keep this boat afloat. In the next week, we're actually going to be, a lot of Alfred talk on this week's show. Don't know if you noticed that, but there are a lot of Alfred talk, and you know what? The Alfred talk is going to continue because we're going to be covering the pilot of the new Alfred show. That's right. We live in a time that is so weird and bizarre that they said we are going to give Batman's butler his own television program. So what's that look like? We don't know.
It's called Pennyworth.
Yes, called Pennyworth. Thanks. I should have probably said the title. But yes, Pennyworth will be our pilot review for next week. So, you thought you couldn't get enough Alfred action. You were wrong. You were dead wrong. In the meantime, Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
Check me out on Preacher Podcast. I think the next episode we record will be my best ever. It'll be my favorite ever.
Bruce is not going to be on Preacher Podcast next week, everybody. He won't do it. We've tried to, put him in, and he's talking Mr. Big Shorts over there. We don't know what that's about. But Sean will be there, won't you, Sean?
I will, and if you want to hear me yell at my co-host, listen to the first episode of season 4 of Preacher, where I could not be more violently angry at everyone on Earth, never mind just my co-hosts.
Well, it's how things work around here. And the Film Find is still trucking along there, everybody. This week I'm going to have a review up of Hobbs and Shaw and the new scary movie or scary stories to read or scary stories in the dark, whatever the heck it's called, from the book that was when you were a kid. So it's out.
What?
Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. That's the name of the movie. It's based on a book, and it's out right now. So I'm going to be talking about that. So check out the Film Find as well. That is it, everybody. Join us next week when we're talking about the Pennyworth pilot. I had to slow that one down. For Sean Koufax, Bruce Leslie, my name's Adam Portrais. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Evie.
Hold on. change what's been and gone. May your smile shine on. Don't be scared. Your destiny may keep you warm. 'Cause all of the stars have faded away. Just try not to worry. You'll see them someday. Take what you need and be on your way. And stop crying your heart out. Get up. Come on. Why you scared? Never change what's been